Hello, and thank you for being here, for being you, and for allowing me to share my story with you. Today, I want to continue the journey that I've had this year with very intense symptoms of diarrhea and breathing problems I had. And I mean, this year was difficult. And when I say difficult, I would say it has been one of the most challenging, or as challenging as the most difficult times in my life in previous years. And the only difference that happened, I mean, the only difference that makes things uh, change direction this year was a little certainty and faith that was stronger than any other year before. However, the symptoms were very strong. And if you have been following my videos and and you've been following also my journey here, I mean, you know that this year was bad in terms of the diarrhea, especially because for 9 consecutive months, no years, no, but almost yes, because the first time I had chronic diarrhea was in 2008, and that lasted for almost 4 years. 4 years with chronic diarrhea. I mean, can you imagine that? Only if you experience that, you can actually imagine what that is in terms of how debilitating and trying to manage it and doing absolutely everything that is in your power to one, cope with it, because I mean, being able to have a life, go out, do your groceries, if you are lucky enough, be able to have a job and a circle of friends, which probably after a few months of chronic diarrhea, they all disappear because you simply cannot cope. You cannot keep going and going to the parties and stuff like that because you will have to go to the toilet at any moment, even if you take overdoses of antidiarrheals or things to stop it. I mean, it's just really really bad. And well, this year hit me once again, and I originally thought that it was caused by the anxiety because I had very good years previously. During the pandemic was my best years ever in terms of how strong I felt, how healthy I felt. All this, I am talking based on the understanding that I don't take HIV medication and that doctors have been telling me that I am an extremely vulnerable individual, and that especially during the pandemic, that uh, infection could cost my life. And even though that was the doctor's advice, and that what they kept saying, and trying to make me go into the medication, I just kept firm into my belief that I could heal myself. And that's what I've been doing for the last 17, 18 years since I was diagnosed HIV positive for the first time. So this time, because I've been dealing with everything, I mean, I have gone peeling layer by layer in terms of uh, opportunistic infections and disease that will come at times, and I will have to deal with it separately and trying to understand it. I would always be in touch with my doctors, and they helped me many times to jump the hurdle and be able to survive many times because I got really bad many times. But I kept firm, thinking that although the HIV medication is great when you need it, there are many times when I didn't feel I did need it, and I wanted to understand more about what made me so vulnerable to HIV and to the opportunistic infections. I know about the rhetoric that we get about the immune system, but even beyond that, I wanted to know how my mind and my emotions could affect the proliferation of disease in my body. So that has been my turning point, or my lab test or test lab, to be able to understand myself, my body, my mind, everything about me. And so when the diarrhea began at the beginning of this year, the start of this year, 2022, uh, after a very long period of extremely good, strong health, physically, mentally, everything was perfect. And because it was perfect, I thought, okay, now it's time to focus my energy. Instead of self healing, I need to focus on creating abundance and income. And that's when I began to change my perspective from heal yourself and what's wrong with my health and worrying about HIV and worrying about other stuff, to actually uh, looking into making a life, making an abundant life, making an income, making a career. And I wanted to focus on expressing and sharing my experience precisely on uh, self healing and natural health. Little did I know at the time, the challenge was big. And because I never done that before, because I've never created a career or an income uh, solid enough, strong enough. I've been working as a personal trainer and a support worker and all that stuff, but they were more just jobs to help me pay the bills and not really my purpose and mission, or my following my passion. My passion for the last 20 years has been healing, self healing, healing my mind, healing my body. So I wanted to do something that I could earn some money, create some benefits for somebody else, and make that my career. Whoa, that was challenging. And levels of stress, anxiety, worry, self doubt. I mean, all the limiting beliefs of I am not good enough, I don't deserve this. Uh, I mean, all that just popped out of nowhere, or back of, or from my subconscious, and it hit me hard. And when it hit me hard, that's when the diarrhea began. It was probably the end of December, January, precisely that time. And I thought, okay, I can manage it. I can manage. I need to find what it is. And at the beginning of this year, I had no idea. And when I mean no idea, I mean no idea. Because everything was perfect and suddenly was not. And I began. I mean, I kept doing my tapilini. If you know about tapilini, I mean, check it out. If you don't know about tapilini, please, let me write it down here. Tapilini.com, which is a combination of tapping and Kundalini, which I put together, I created in 2018, and has been my support mechanism in moments of crisis. So I kept doing my Tapilini, trying to at least stay at peace, while I would kind of be open to everything and anything that could help me deal with the situation. Back in January, not only the diarrhea hit hard, but back then I also had difficulty breathing. And as the doctor said, and as it has been recorded in my mind through years and years and years of HIV education, it was like, it's HIV, your immune system is very low, and you have to be very careful. And now is the time when shit hits the fan, and it's gonna be like every other year, or not every other year, but like three times in my past, where I ended up with pneumonia in hospital, connected to a ventilator. And this time, those fears came back. the self-doubt, boom, I opened the door to self-doubt, and it came in like rushing. And it took me a lot of calmness, because before this year, something like this would happen, and I would go into such high levels of anxiety, worry, and catastrophizing. I mean, just thinking the absolute worst, waking up, and the first thought was, what's wrong with me? Is there anything new? How do I feel? Does anything hurt? And if you have had, or if you're experiencing something similar, you know how horrendous that level of anxiety is. So this year I didn't have it. Why? Because I've been doing tapellini, because I've been able to maintain a daily practice of meditation that lasts, this one, tapellini, lasts about 25 minutes, which in my case, it's enough. I can do more, and sometimes I do a lot more. I do another meditation for 11 minutes to to not close, to touch my heart, to connect with my heart. Tapellini is definitely just an anti-anxiety to bring down levels of anxiety. Works like magic. It has a lot of science behind it, but we don't need to know it. I don't need to know. Well, I do now a lot. I do know a lot about the science behind it, but it's more about feeling the effects because it works. The only problem is that you have to learn the mantra, which is not as easy or short. Guru Guru Vahe Guru Guru Ramdas Guru, repeated 5 times in one breath, 108 times, which is challenging. I mean, that means that is for people who really want to find peace in moments of crisis, to really calm their minds, calm their energy, bring some clarity and peace into their experience when you are in the middle of a hurricane. You are going around and around in circles, 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 trying to figure out what's wrong. And at some point, imagine that Tapellini brings you into the center, into the eye of the storm, and there you can see everything, but it's quiet and it's peaceful. And you know that if you step out of it, it's gonna be chaotic, because you will step into your painful body. You will step into the limiting beliefs. You will step into the world of science where doctors tells you that you are dying, that you should keep yourself locked in a room because coming out will be pretty much suicidal, and and you have to deal with all that stress and anxiety. And somehow there is something guiding you. For me, has been something guiding me to know more, to find out more about myself. Yes, viruses, yes, funguses and bacteria, bad stuff, boom. Eh, but why am I susceptible to it? Is it because I provide the right environment? And that's what I began to believe many years ago. And if that is the case, following books um, like you are the you are the placebo, you are the placebo by Joe Dispenza. I don't know if you have seen it. If you have seen um, this book, I will put it here so you can see it. So you can. This is the one in Amazon, the version in Amazon, and present, share, share screen, and I'm gonna give you. then time screen. No, I want to give you this. I'm going to share with you. You are the placebo. Share. Okay. So this is the book that, I mean, this is a guy who tells you that by changing your mind, you can change your reality, you can change your body, you can change your chemistry, you can change how all the functions in your body act and react. So I've been understanding that concept for a very long time, pretty much since 2007, a year after I was diagnosed with HIV, and right after I tried to commit suicide because of the diagnosis. And it was as I woke up from the near death experience that all this information began to come to me, and it began to make a lot of sense. It just made a lot of sense. The thinking or the uh, perspective that we can heal ourselves. That was actually the second message that I received after I woke up from that near death experience into a brand new life and mind. I mean, it was a very very strange time. But the first thoughts that I had was when I woke up from near death was water is alive, and in every drop of water exists all the information to create new life. And I was like, where did that come from? It was like suddenly my mind was receiving these messages. And I was like, oh, whatever. Back then, I was not a spiritual person. I was not self aware. I mean, I was just a maze of trauma and fears and shames and all that stuff. And the second message that came to my mind when I came back from that death experience was, you can heal yourself. And I was like, all right, that makes a little bit more sense than the water at that time. So time passed, and then information began to come across my experience. I mean, come across in front of me. That's what I knew, how I knew about the dissident story about HIV, which made sense, but I didn't follow whatsoever because I'm not against medication. I'm not against doctor's advice. I am simply pro following my intuition, pro following understanding of healing my mind and my body so I can create a different environment that will attract different organisms as to inhabit my body and my mind. That's what I've been wanting all these years. Anyway, so going back to this year, going back to this year and this diarrhea thing that once again it's like a hit me after many years of being away, of being healed, where I thought my tummy was healed. But then I didn't realize how stressful and frightening wanting to make a life for myself, wanting to stop focusing on self-healing and coming out of my cave, and be able to communicate. And that was very funny because as the world isolated with COVID, or because of COVID, I was out and about. I kept working every single day. I kept going out. I was testing myself for COVID every single day because I had to, because I work with vulnerable individuals with special needs, and I needed to make sure that well, I needed to be sure that I was didn't have any COVID. I didn't feel any fear during those years of isolation for COVID, but and instead I felt very very strong. So when the diarrhea at the beginning of 2022 hit me after wanting to create this abundance, a new life and career, I was in uncharted waters, totally. That's something that I've never ever done before. Taking seriously a future. I have always lived in the moment, day by day, by day by day. And so thinking about creating a future was difficult, new, stressful, anxiety, fears, shames, all the limiting beliefs. I cannot do this. This is way too difficult. I can't. I'm alone and I feel alone and I cannot do this because I don't know how to. And all those situations just came rushing. And the diarrhea was hard and the breathing problems were hard, but I stayed calm. I guess I stayed uh, doing my tapellini every morning, sometimes 2 3 times a day. Everything is fine. Everything will be fine. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Even though these two shall pass. These two shall pass. And in the meantime, I kept researching. I keep very open. I keep changing my diet. I bought a nebulizer for the breathing situation and began doing deep breathings. And I began nebulizing with uh, hydrogen peroxide. And I began taking hydrogen peroxide, the protocol of hydrogen peroxide, and that helped. If it didn't help too much, at least helped me to be able to feel empowered to do something. That was good enough. And uh, and then began to do nebulizing with organic oregano oil. Whoa, I think that was what did it. I mean, 2 days on that, and I was woohoo, and I was breathing again. But the diarrhea continued, and it came to a point when I was very tired. I had no energy, and I was losing, I cannot say a lot of weight, but I lost about 5 to 7 kilos. And I have been around 83, 84 kilos, so I reached about 70. I think the lowest that I got was 70, 73 or 74. So it was a lot. It was a lot. I'm a tall guy, so um, still it's a lot. 10 kilos is a lot. And the energy levels were down. I didn't lose faith. I didn't lose hope. And I didn't lose spiritual strength. Actually, I think I gained a lot of spiritual strength, but I was losing a lot of physical health and strength. I went to the doctors, uh, trying to find answers. I was ready to begin with the medication. I said, "This is it. This is it. Maybe the universe and my body is telling me that this is the time when I have to start medication." And I was like, "I'm okay because at this point I've done everything I can. And if I can't and the doctors can provide a solution, well, I'm not just going to deny because that would be stupid. I'm just not going to deny their advice and their support and help, and I'm going to start the medication." And so I went to the doctors and they did all the tests. Uh, and what surprised me this time around was their answer, because in all honesty, they had no idea what was going on with me. They even kind of said, kind of, there's a word, they insinuated that I was making it up because on the tests, nothing came up. And they did all the tests on me, the blood tests and the urine tests and the poo tests. And I had already checking my uh, um, prostate, everything. They checked my lungs, everything. Nothing. Everything normal, everything fine, but I still had diarrhea. But when they come back with their solution was like, so what do you think is this thing? And they were like, it's HIV. And I'm like, how could it be HIV? I mean, what do you think HIV is? HIV is not like, it's not like a fungus. Viruses are not like a fungus. It's not like candida. That's not how viruses work. I mean, viruses are like a cold. You get things, but it's like breaks on your skin or stuff like that, like herpes. But for me, it just didn't make sense that the diarrhea was caused by a fungus. You go by a virus, by HIV, because it just didn't make sense to me. And they kept saying, well, the thing is with HIV, so much HIV, your immune system is low, and you have no defense to fight back the bad bacteria and the bad stuff that is going in your gut, and that's what's creating the, the diarrhea. And I was like, is that your answer for everything? HIV, HIV, HIV? But then one of them said something, and it said, you have to start medication so we can rule out HIV. And that's when I thought, oh, these guys have no idea. These guys have no idea, and this is just a matter of uh, just removing. I don't know how to say it, but it's like well, this it doesn't work, so it must be this. So it does this doesn't work, it has to be that. Uh, so with that, I came back home and decided not to start the medication. Instead, I waited a little bit because after doing the test, I was so not nervous. I was shocked that the doctors have no solution because normally that was my safety net. Doctors had solutions, so uh, was going there to see them and realized that they didn't have an idea of what's going on, and the only thing that they could rule out was HIV. That was the only thing that kind of made sense for them. I was like, okay, so I don't have the doctors anymore. I don't have that safety net. Whoa! And it took me like a couple of days to digest to digest that news. And in that time, I remember I just stayed home. I think it was a weekend, and I began watching documentaries about the gut. And that's when I learned about probiotics, and I also learned about postbiotics, B2, butyrate, and all these uh, health things that we can do. Anyway, to make this long story short, there, I want to say today that I have about a week that the diarrhea has stopped. I think even a little bit more. When did I do the last video? I think it was uh, a week on Tuesday. So at a week and a day, and not only did it stop, I feel that I found the solution. And I'm going to share with you what. For one was butyrate, which I already make a video. My previous video was about butyrate. Then I began taking this probiotic, really cool probiotic. But then what really made a difference was this, which is a Xylem husk, PS I PSYLLIUM, Xylem husks. And this situation, these xylem husks are uh, it's something. let me here it is. Let me go into it. What is okay? And I'm gonna share this with you because when I read about, I had this at home. I had this at home because one time I was making the I was doing the keto diet, and this was I bought this to make almond keto cake, and so I had it there, and then I saw it, and then I thought, what what can I um, use it for? And then I went like very intuitively. I went into the internet to find out what it was, and this is what I found out. Look at that. It's a soluble fiber found in psyllium husk. Can help lower cholesterol, can help revive both constipation and diarrhea. And then I read that and treat irritable bowel syndrome. I said, that's me. Oh my God. And then I began taking it. Just 2 to 3 spoons on my smoothie every morning, and the diarrhea stopped. And that's what I wanted to share because it's been the most amazing journey and the most incredible fact that indeed I can heal myself. And indeed, I believe that we all can heal our bodies and our minds if we have a very different perspective and understanding of who we are and what are our potentials and what is our purpose in here in this life. I really wish you the best of everything. If you are dealing with this, please get in touch, communicate with me, send me a message, say, hey, I'm this, how, what, I don't know. Just let's talk. Let's talk. Let me hear your story. I would love to hear your story because I realize that our stories are very similar. So it will be nice to hear from you. Otherwise, I invite you to visit my websites. They are all in the description below, and stay in touch. Until next time, God bless you. Namaste. Satnam. Hasta la próxima.